Welcome back to the channel, and this is the second tutorial on Java programming for basics, well, basic Java programming. It will probably get more complex as we go along, but for now we're still like in the intermediate easy level, learning the basics, because you can't build a house if you don't have a foundation. Today I'm going to be covering loops. So there's two main types of loops that you're probably going to use the most: the for loop and the while loop. But we're going to start off with a for loop. So, what does a loop do? Well, it loops through everything. Like, it's a loop. Loops loop through everything. Let's actually get a definition, because I'm kind of digging it. Loop. A loop definition. Block that. Let's go. A shape produced by a structure serial process which ends by connecting and beginning. Okay, well, that's not really helping my case, but you know what? It is okay. Because a loop, for instance, let's just say we're going to make a variable, as I did in the last video. Let's say we name it string name equals headshot. And now, let's just say we want a system.out line it, and we're going to print it out. But now, let's say we want to print it out 5 times, for instance. Now, you could, to be honest, do this, where you just type out system.out 5 times, but that's not very efficient, and it's going to take a lot of time and waste energy and effort. So, considering humans are humans and we're pretty lazy beings, we found a faster way to do it. It's called a loop. See, print it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So now, a loop. The basic syntax is for, and then as convention, we go int I. You can name this variable whatever you want, because it's also just a box, and it's going to store a number. I equals 0, because you want to start at 0, while I is less than 5, because I want to print my name out 5 times. And then we're going to go I++, I'm going to explain that to you just now. You're going to put the curly brackets. Curly brackets are very important, because that's what whatever's inside it is enclosed inside. Goes along with encapsulation. So now, what does I++ do? Well, I++ is the same as me saying I equals I plus 1. So the box I, initially it equals 0, and each time the loop goes, it increments it by 1. You could say I equals I plus 1, but the simple terms does the same thing, I++, add 1. So now we can go out inside here, and we can go name. And let's say we run it. Run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was just 4 lines of code, compared to before where that was much more than that. So this is a basic for loop, but you can also make it go backwards. So if I say this equals 5, while I is greater than 0, I minus minus. And we run it, it's still going to print out, well, it's not going to print out anything, because while I is less than 0, while I is greater than 0, I run it again, there we go. Now, if I print out I, because I want you guys to see how I works. I is a pretty nice number. And now I've said I so many times, I'm tired of the word I. And I run it. 5, ran the loop, printed out. 4, it incremented, because the I has been printed for name, and then printed out my name. 3, then name. 2, then name. 1, then name. This is a for loop. You can do a lot of interesting things with it. But now let's look at a while loop. I'm trying to think of an example of a while loop, so let me just, let's make an infinite loop, because infinity is a pretty cool thing. So we're going to make a Boolean value for yes or no, and we're going to name it check. We're going to make it true. So now, what do we do with this value? Well, we're going to use it in our while loop. We're going to say while check equals true. So while the box check is yes, which is true, while it's equal to true, then we're gonna say sout. Let's make a value here. Let's make an integer. We're gonna name it num, and we're gonna make it equal to 0. A whole number box equals 0. I'm gonna print out our box because they're linked. And after it prints it out, I want num to be equal to num plus 1. Plus 1. There we go. I'm gonna save it. We're gonna compile this. And let's remove the for loop for now. Run it. Okay, and now if I come down here and I click this and I click, are you sure you want to cancel? Yes, so it's going to run for infinity and beyond. If I come back, it starts at 0 and it just goes 10, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, hundreds, 200, and we even get to thousands. Imagine. So how long did this run for? This is going to take forever. Let me just, there we go. In 6 seconds, we got to 141,583 numbers being printed. Like, that's a lot of numbers. But that's irrelevant. So, a while loop and a for loop, they just used to make checking through things a lot simpler. Let's say, that's the basics of a while and a for. Let's say we wanted to print out every even number. We want to print out the first 100 even numbers. So you gotta be thinking, because it's all about the logic. So, do you use a while loop or for loop? If you gotta use a while loop, I mean, you don't always have to go make a boolean like this. There's other ways to make the while loop run, but it's probably not going to be the best option to be using a while loop, because we're going to need it to stop, and it's just easier for a for loop. After how many loops do we want it to stop? We want it to stop after 100. So while I is less than 100, because in a lot of Java you're going to have to use less than, greater than, equals to. Those are the basic ones. So now we're going to say for while I is equal to 0, because we want to start at 0. While I is less than 100, we are going to say increment I by 1. And I was being dumb here. I gave it a variable type, like data type, integer, because it's a whole number. And we're going to say, let's start that at 0 in num. So then we're going to say, we're going to print out the thing num, and we are going to add 2, because num equals num plus 2. Because going up in even numbers, you have to add 2 each time. I'm going to compile, going to run. Here's the first 100 even numbers: 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and it goes up in 2s. Actually, I should have said we're going to print out the first 200 multiples of 2, but okay, get the point. So, it's a basic for, and that's basically loops in a nutshell. In NetBeans, you can type for and click tab to shortcut to get this like basic layout very quickly, but then you gotta remember to change these variables and even the sign sometimes according to what you want to do. So I don't advise that. If you want to learn how to do this, you just type it out, because it's just going to get muscle memory and you'll know how to do it better than using the shortcuts. And that's basic loops: a while loop and a for loop.